Welcome everybody, Ravenar here, and today we're going to go over the most recent HOTS patch, patch 5.4.1. Now, those of you who are interested, I am going to put skips in this guide, so feel free to skip to whatever hero you want to hear me talk about, as well as making sure you guys check out my stream. I'm going to post a link to that down below in the description. But let's just go ahead and hop right in with Blaze. So Blaze is probably going to be the most important one in here, it appears, from skimming over it. Big Blaze buff. So Flame Stream, which is his Q, has an additional functionality, which is a talent that they're removing, which is Crossfire. So in hitting an enemy hero with both streams of his Flame Stream deals 120 damage. This additional hit triggers Flame Stream's Pyromania cooldown. So his trait slash D cooldown. So this is going to be a really good change. He gets this baseline now, which is going to be really strong. This is new habits. Globes give you 6 seconds instead of 8, so a brief nerf on that, or slight nerf on that. Obviously, Crossfire got removed, which is obviously baseline now. Suppress Fire moved from 13, so all of the 13 talents got moved. So these are going to be your 13 talents. You have one that gives spell power, you have one that reduces movement speed, and you have one that creates oil spills when you jet propulsion. All of these are going to be a really strong boost to Blaze's functionality with his early game. So these are all really good changes. Level 7 is going to be a lot stronger for Blaze now. Now, Grill and Kill moved from level 7 to 13. Grill and Kill was always your quest that you would generally pick at level 7. So now changed Ignite Oil Spills, grant their bonus damage instantly. That's going to be a good change. And now, because it's a later talent tier, 30 or 45% instead of 35. Hero hits for quest completion reduced by half, which is really strong. Quest reward ignite duration increased from 2 to 2.5 seconds, also really strong. So Grill and Kill, already good, even better now. This moved from level 7. Additional functionality, enemy standing in oil spill when it ignites takes 35% more basic attack damage from Blaze for 3 seconds. This is going to be a really good change as well. New level 13 collision course. Jet propulsion deals an additional 325 damage to its collision target. Basically, your Aegis does more damage. This one probably not going to be that good because you're not really using Blaze to do damage. You're using him to set up, but more damage can always be nice. So developer Crossfire has always been a widely popular talent, so they're making it baseline with his early addition of damage. We're comfortable pushing back his damage talents to swapping it to later tiers. So anyway, overall, Blaze going to be in a lot better place. Will he see more play? We'll have to wait and see. Overall, I like this change. Blaze had kind of fallen out of the game a little bit, so I think this will be a very good change to him. It might bring him into that tanking role a little bit more than he was before. On to Garrosh. Into the Fray has been moved to baseline. I really like this change. I can't tell you how many times I would have a Garrosh on my team not pick Into the Fray and we lose because of it. Making it baseline is an amazing change. Reducing armor, not a big deal. Having it baseline is huge. It's perfect for Garrosh. Level 7 attack speed reduction 40 to 30%. That's just a minor change. Presser W change from passive talent to Bloodthirst. Spell power reduction reduced from 40 to 30%. An additional functionality, Bloodthirst, also applies the spell reduction. So this is going to be a spell power reduction, so this is going to be good for obviously hitting mages and anything that does burst damage. So this is a pretty good talent to targeting, I would say, burst, which is one of Garrosh's weaknesses, actually, is burst damage. So this is a pretty good change to a level 7 as well if you are against that. And new talent, Loktar Ogar, increased Into the Fray armor by 20 and reduced its cooldown by 12 seconds for each enemy hero hit. That probably means that you're throwing them into the enemy, which probably isn't good to throw a target into them. But overall, this is not going to be too bad. Additional armor means that they'll have 40 armor, which means that you do have the ability to throw them in. If you throw in like a assassin that, something like an Illidan or something that can get value from the armor and being in there. So overall, really good change to Garrosh. I don't think Garrosh necessarily needed a change outside of Into the Fray, but it's always nice to see them showing some love to tanks that might not see as much play in higher ranks. But overall, good change for Garrosh. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him. All right, Johanna. So Johanna was a tank that I felt was probably a little bit on the weaker side after the most recent rework. I noticed that her play seemed to fall off a little bit, so I'll have to see what they do to her. I know that they fixed the falling sword bug, but increased shield from Iron Skin by a pretty decent amount, 674 to 810. Hold your ground, shield percent increase reduced from 60% to 40%. So basically, you get more baseline without having to take hold your ground. It used to be that hold your ground was a semi-mandatory talent, so this is kind of a good change to make it not feel as mandatory while giving you some more baseline. So I like this. Sins exposed, healing reduction increase from 25% to 35%. That's actually not bad. Extra 10% healing reduction could be pretty useful off of a Q. And is level 7. Cooldown reduced from 30 to 20 seconds. This is your insta mount. This is actually pretty strong as well. Falling sword damage increased by about, I'm bad at percentages, by about 50%, I think is about what it is. That's actually a pretty big change to falling sword. And Holy Fury, periodic damage, minor increase. So overall, good change to Johanna. I felt like she was a little underpowered before. I feel like falling sword is still not the pick here, but giving it more damage definitely will help people who do pick it. Overall, though, good change to Johanna. Muradin. This is probably the one one of the ones I'm most excited about. They're making the Stormbolt Pierce, an automatic quest completion at level 10. So additional functionality, no longer baseline quests. Upon reaching level 10, you get the Stormbolt Pierce automatically. So obviously Stormbolt pierces an additional target. Basic attacks reduce the cooldown of Stormbolt by 1 second, reduce 3 mana. So this is really good. Now, one of the things that they talk about is that you spend too much time just throwing out your Qs randomly to stack it. Now this lets you have the option of holding your Q for when you actually want to stun something instead of just aimlessly throwing it out to stack or to try to get that quest done. So this is a really good change, I think. Perfect Storm, new functionality. Basic attacks against an enemy hero increase Stormbolt damage by 0.5. And then if an enemy hero is killed within 3 seconds of being hit by Stormbolt, increase the damage by 10. So this is overall a good change. They're moving very much away from just wanting you to aimlessly throw out your Qs. So I really like this change to Muradin. I feel like Muradin has kind of fallen out a little bit, and I think this is a perfect change for him. So A+ change in my opinion on this, and I'm looking very much forward to playing Muradin again. Stitches. Vile Gas duration increased from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. Just a slight trait buff. I like that. Hunger for More passive. Maximum health bonus reduced from 30 to 25. I feel like this isn't necessary because you usually pick Patchwork Creation. And if you pick Hunger for More, I feel like it's on specific maps like Braxis. I don't think that this is necessary, but, maybe I'm wrong. But overall, slight nerf, not a huge deal though. Playtime, Inner Slam Circle cooldown reduction increased from 1 to 1.5 seconds. Slight buff. Vile Cleaver, additional functionality. Slam applies Vile Gas to all targets hit. I really like that one actually. That with the increase in duration is going to be really strong. Tenderizer, healing reduced from 2 to 1.75. Tenderizer was turning into the meta pick. I have a feeling it still will be, but slight nerf to that should help bring up these a little bit. Serrated Edge, hook cooldown reduction reduced from 5 to 4 seconds. Again, Q at 7 was definitely the pick. I still think it will be, but a slight nerf to it gives the other talents on that tier a bit of viability. Putrefaction, healing reduction increased from 30 to 40%. Valgas healing increased from 60 to 75. This gives you a lot more sustain, and I'm very interested in trying to see if this one is better than this one. We'll have to wait and see if that will be the case. You do get healing at 13, but we'll have to see if this one is better. I will be very interested to see. I still think it's going to be Q because even though it's only a 4-second cooldown reduction, it's still going to be better, I think, with the way that people are building stitches, but I think that this one will be viable. Meat Hook, healing per second reduced from 5% to 4%. Very minor nerf, in my opinion. Duration increased from 4 to 5 seconds. Basically, your heal will tick for less, but tick longer. I still think that this is going to be the pick. I don't think that that's going to change. Chop Chop, duration reduced from 5 to 4 seconds. Attack speed bonus reduced from 50 to 40%. Additional functionality, basic attacks against heroes refresh the duration. This is actually not too bad if you can continuously auto attack players. You'll be able to keep this debuff up, which is actually pretty nice. Still think Q will be the pick for just sustain, but this might have some place in certain comps that want you to reduce the speed on like an Illidan or something. Level 16, digestive juices. Devour cooldown reduction reduced from 5 to 4 seconds. Damage reduction duration reduced from 5 to 4. I feel like they're nerfing a talent that didn't need to be nerfed because no one picked it anyway. So this is kind of an odd change in my opinion. This one I'm actually pretty excited about. Hungry Stitches. Additional functionality. Heroes are slowed by 75% for 1 second after Gorge ends. So after he eats everybody, they all come out 75% slowed. This is actually pretty huge because they come out staggered anyway, which is good for your team to follow up on, but they also come out mega slowed. And so unless they are super mobile, like a Genji, they are going to be in a lot of trouble. So this is actually a really good change because Hungry Stitches was not very good just because of the nature of how it worked. The extra slow might help push it over. I still think that Master Hooker might be the pick here, even though they are nerfing it slightly, but this is still kind of a neat little change. But Master Hooker, hook cooldown reduction reduced from 5 to 4 seconds, healing reduction reduced from 100% to 75. 100% was a bit over the top. Heal reduction. 75 is still, I think, going to be plenty strong. That's still a lot of heal reduction, and I still think is going to be the pick here. Hook cooldown reduction. This, along with the level 7, I think is still going to be pretty substantial. You are still going to get a very significant reduction in your Q, so I still think that Q build will be the pick here, even though obviously there are nerfs across the board. So overall change of Stitches, I feel like it is a necessary change. They are buffing a lot of his trait related talents, so I will very much try those out. I think that Q build will still be the pick here. Even though it's a slight nerf, I don't think it's enough to push it over, but I think it's a necessary nerf. So overall, I think that the changes to Stitches are needed, but I think he still will be very much playable, just not first ban like he has been. So on to Bruisers, Imperius. This is a big one. Basic attack damage increased from 122 to 126, and his W damage increased from 100 to 110. They're making Imperius do more damage. Battle Hunger. Bonus healing increased from 70 to 80%. Blaze of Glory damage increased from 150 to 185. Additional functionality. Casting Molten Armor grants Holy Fervor for 2 basic attacks, and Unrelented Descent, additional functionality. Descent from the Heavens restores Imperius for 30% of his maximum health and mana. Overall, he's going to have a little bit more sustain with this, but he's going to do more damage. So I don't think Imperius was lacking damage, but I know that he definitely was not heavily contested after his most recent round of nerfs. So I think this will help bring him up a little bit more into a more viable category. So good change to Imperius. I don't necessarily know if it was needed, but I think it will be a good change for Imperius as a character. Anduin, Pursuit by Grace. Healing increase from 26 to 32, and that is going to be his D. Flash Heal. Mana cost reduced from 25 to 20. Healing increase from 270 to 280. Chastise. Cooldown reduced from 10 to 9 seconds. They're nerfing Anduin. I feel like Anduin was in a pretty good place, but I do like these changes, obviously. It's going to make him stronger. Even-handed Blessing. Healing bonus increased from 10 to 15%. That's really good. Lightwell, cooldown reduction reduced from 80 to 75 seconds, which is nice. Individual healing, cooldown reduction from 1 to 0.875 seconds. Overall buff to Lightwell. Surge of Light, cooldown reduction increase from 0.5 to 0.75. Nice change there. Binding Heal. Healing increase from 115 to 175, or 135. I'm sorry. This is his, I believe, where he self-casts a heal on himself. So that's going to be a nice change there. Desperate Prayer. Cooldown reduced from 40 to 35 seconds. Healing increase from 360 to 375. Overall, Desperate Prayer, buff there. Renew. Healing per second increased from 26 to 30. And duration increase from 5 to 6. I think that's obviously going to be a good change. Inner Focus, new functionality. Activate the reset the cooldown of Flash Heal in its next cast heals for 25% more, damaging enemy heroes, reduces his cooldown by 1 second. I think that this is going to be pretty good as well. Being able to reset the cooldown on your flash heal is arguably going to be good. So overall, a buff to Anduin. I don't think he was in a terrible spot, but I did think that he was probably underperforming slightly after his rework, so I think this should help bring him up a little bit. I played him already, but I think it'll be more enjoyable to play him even more. On to Brightwing. So this is a character that has been pretty strong recently. So it looks like she's getting changed a little bit. So Soothing Mist, healing increase from 105 to 115. Cooldown reduced from 100 to 90 seconds. D, slight buff, which is nice. Phase shift. Z, cooldown reduced from 50 to 40 seconds. So her global teleport is shorter now. This is actually pretty huge. Hypershift, cooldown reduced from 1.5 to 1 second. Slight nerf on that, which is fine, considering they already reduced that. Peekaboo, shield duration reduced from 5 to 4 seconds. Not having, I don't think this is a big deal because usually if you use it, they're going to eat through the shield pretty quickly anyway, so not really needed. Critical Mist, healing bonus increase from 100% to 140. Obviously, that's going to be better there. I have a feeling Peekaboo is still going to be the pick. I really don't see that changing. Having the shield is very, very strong, especially with the cooldown reduction on the Z. Pixie Boost, increased movement speed from 40 to 50%. There are going to be times where I think movement speed might be good. I still think the extra healing off of Blink or even the extra spell shield are still going to be better. But I definitely think that this is a viable alternative if you would need movement speed. But I do feel like the other two are still better. Intense Winds, change functionality, no longer increases Emerald Wind's mana cost. I always thought that the mana cost increase was dumb, so this is a good change. Fairy Protector, additional functionality. Pixie Dust always bounces back and applies to Brightwing. So that's actually really nice. Depending on if you take like movement speed, that's increased movement speed. Same thing with everything else. So that's actually a good change to that as well. Speedy Dragon, reduced phase shift cast time to 1 second. Being able to cast your teleport faster can be good if you need to get it off quicker, obviously. But I think that having the stealth blink that does the hot is still going to be better. Overall, nice change to Brightwing. They, I know, slightly nerfed her shield on 7, but overall, I still think this is a good change to Brightwing. They're making everything else heal for slightly more and giving a bit more flavor into her other abilities. I am curious about Critical Mist. That is the one that I am wondering if it will be viable over Peekaboo. I do not believe it will be, but I am going to try it out. But overall, good change to Brightwing. Don't necessarily think she needed a change, but always nice to see them show some love to the Fairy Dragon. All right, on to Stukov. Fetid Touch. Additional functionality. Basic attacks become ranged and slow enemies for 15% for 1.5 seconds, but deal 50% less damage. I know that this was a Spine Launcher, so they pretty much baked Spine Launchers into Fetid Touch. That's kind of cool. I think that that's actually a pretty interesting thing because I believe Fetid Touch was the quest. So that's interesting. Reactive Bell Spores, additional functionality. Activate, instantly spread a weighted pustule to all nearby enemies. Passive while below 50% health, bio kill switch, cooldown refreshes 150% faster. This works slightly differently now. Reactive Bell Spores was always the go-to. So I think that they're trying to make things more flavorful because the E build kind of fell off after they changed Stukov a couple years ago, and now the lurking terror or lurking arm is going to persist baseline with the level 1 quest, which is pretty nice. So they're giving you options here. I think that maybe Fetid Touch might be the go-to now. Spine Launcher was always almost good. The slow is nice, and the ranged is also nice. Stukov does do a lot of damage, but as a healer, you don't really need that damage if you have the right comp. I think Fetid Touch might be the go-to now, but I'm very interested because I love E-Build. Bionic Armor, physical armor from acting bio kill switch from 70 to 50. That's necessary. It did too much armor anyway, so I feel like that's a necessary change. Activating bio kill switch while exactly one enemy hero is affected. Now set your kill switch to 8 seconds instead of 5. Slight nerf on that because this was the big level 7 to go to. It still might be. I don't know what the cooldown of it is off the top of my head. I think it's like 15 seconds or 20 seconds. Still going to be pretty good at 8 seconds. Lingering Spines, which I believe is the passive, where it sticks around, is good. Root duration reduced from 2 to 1.5 seconds. When he does his little silence root, slightly reduced. Stukov had a couple fun talents that were being overshadowed by stronger and or more synergistic ones. We didn't want to lose that flavor, so we baked their current functionality into existing talents and were in the need of a little love themselves. Overall, I feel like an unnecessary change to Stukov. Stukov didn't really need any changes. I'm afraid that these might hurt him more than help him. The one build that really made him good, they kind of just gutted by changing reactive bell spores and the armor. So overall, I think this might hurt Stukov more than help him unless Fetid Touch actually is good here. The only thing that will really be able to save it is if this is good. The persistence of Lurking Arm is not going to be good enough to make a difference. I am afraid that they might have done more harm than good to Stukov. Ranged Assassins, Orphea. I'm excited about this one. Additional functionality to the Q level 1. Hitting heroes with the end of Shadow Waltz grants an additional 1 chaos. That's really good if you like Q build. Growing Nightmare, the E talent, change functionality. Initial damage bonus changed from Dread's Eruption to both Dread Wave and Eruption. So when it's going out, it gets that bonus as well as when it lands. Initial damage bonus increased from 40 to 50%. Quest reward damage bonus increased from 25 to 50%. This is really good. E and Q both getting massive buffs. I feel like Orphea was a little bit undervalued, but we'll finish this off and then I'll give you my thoughts. Monster Within. Cooldown reduction continues for 5 seconds after Eternal Feast ends. So this is basically her Eternal Feast. This is going to be really good to give her CDR even after it ends. Other alt armor reduction increased from 25 to 50%. So this is actually really good. It makes it so the people that you hit with your stun have their armor reduced by 50%. That's really strong. And a new talent, duration reduced from 6 to 5 seconds. And additional functionality, well, not new talent, I meant additional functionality. Dashing increases the duration by 1 second. So this thing can last longer. This is potentially good, but I feel like the alt upgrades might be better here, or the one you would take before, which was just the additional damage. Orphea players have correctly recognized the power of both Ancestral Strength level 1 and the Conduit at level 20. Therefore, we're buffing their competitors and seeing what happened. So Conduit, I think, is the level 20 that most people will still go for. I actually don't know what this does, but I don't see it really passing Conduit. The duration is minor. Being able to dash and increase the duration is good, but I feel like this one is just so strong with the extra damage. I have a feeling that if you're picking something else, you're going to go alt upgrade. 50 reduction in armor off the stun alt is actually pretty substantial. That lets you blow up a lot of characters. This having the cooldown reduction is also going to be very good. So I have a feeling both alt upgrades will be better than this if you're not already going Conduit. So overall, good change to Orphea. I'm very much looking forward to playing some more Orphea, but we will have to see what happens. Raynor. Damage increased 92 to 28. And penetrating round, damage increased from 190 to 205. So basic attack and just basic ability buff. Ace in the Hole. Talent change from Q to trait, which is interesting. I don't think it really matters. It's just flavor. Change functionality. Damage bonus now affects all Raynor's damage. That's actually really good. Damage bonus reduced from 25 to 10%. That's a pretty big nerf. It will be interesting to see what it does. They did obviously buff the base damage, and they made it so it applies off of more things. So we'll have to see if this is too much of a nerf. 25 to 10% is pretty substantial when I feel like Ace in the Hole wasn't that good to begin with. Raynor kind of struggled a little bit after the rework. He's just not really able to stand up as much as like Valla was, which is coming up next. Executive orders no longer able to be picked in ARAM. Doesn't matter for ranked or anything like that, but obviously makes sense for ARAM. Jimmy ain't fought his last battle yet. We're returning Ace in the Hole to its original functionality, mostly in response to player sentiments, but also open up basic attack builds that isn't Gambit dependent, which is the loan. As always, thanks for your feedback. We have decided to remove executive orders from ARAM. We think it's less powerful version is still not healthy for the game mode. All right, so overall, I guess Ace in the Hole, we'll have to see if that is going to be good or bad. I would very much like Ace in the Hole to work the way it did before. So if that's what it does now, then props to that. Overall buff to Raynor though, with his damage and Q buffs. So even if you go ace in the hole, or even if you don't, overall good change to Raynor. We'll just have to see what it does. It's always good to buff their overall numbers. So we'll see what that does here. Last but not least, Valla. Puncturing arrow damage bonus per hero hit increased from 6 to 7, and W nerf cut in half on heroes hit, and they give a slight buff after hitting 20 heroes, gain 40 additional multi-shot damage. W build Valla was absolutely busted after the rework. So what they're doing here is cutting the damage bonus in half, but after hitting 20 heroes, you get a slight boost in damage. Valla is still setting into her pace in the Nexus, but it's clear that her multi-shot is hitting too hard. We're heavily reducing Fire at Will's ability to scale while giving it an early push of damage. So overall what they're doing is after hitting 20 heroes, you get that early push of damage of 40, but it's not going to scale as hard as the game goes on. I think that this is a good change for Valla. Q build still not going to be any better than it already was. Valla is going to be nerfed, but I think she is still going to be playable, which is the important part here. She's not going to be first pick, first ban worthy all the time anymore, I don't think, but she will be very playable, which is good. So good change to Valla in my opinion. Then they fixed all the bugs. The Anduin bug of range, Johanna falling sword hitting twice, mixing fire, all of these good changes. So anyway, in conclusion, what do I think of this patch? Other than a couple of changes to like Blaze and Muradin, not really a patch that I think is going to change a whole lot. Valla and Stitches probably won't necessarily get first pick, first banned anymore. That might actually go to Blaze now. I like the Garrosh change, but overall, decent patch. I'm happy that the patch happened because, you know, we want to get back to the monthly patches. So I'm happy that it happened. Will it change too much in the game? I don't think so. But is it healthy for the game? Yes. So overall, I like this. Valla nerf needed to happen. Stitches nerf needed to happen. Muradin change is welcome in my opinion, but I really like this, so I hope you guys do too. Thank you guys for listening to this guide, and I will catch you all next time. Have a good night, everybody.